The future Emperor Aurelian was born of humble beginnings in the province of Dalmatia. He began his career in the military, and by the time of the Emperor Claudius had risen to the rank of Magister Equitum, head of the imperial cavalry and second only to the emperor himself in the military chain of command. Upon Claudius's death in 270, the Senate elevated his brother, Quintillus, as emperor. However, the army of the Danube favored Aurelian, and the Senate was powerless to resist. On Aurelian's succession, the empire was engulfed by crises that threatened to tear it apart. It was still recovering from a plague that had caused widespread devastation in 250. Since 260, the army of the Rhine had proclaimed its own emperors, who ruled the breakaway Gallic Empire in defiance of the emperors recognized by Rome. Though since reduced by Claudius's recovery of Spain, it remained a formidable threat. After Claudius's death, Queen Zenobia of Palmyra, a wealthy trading city that dominated the caravans passing between east and west, seceded from the empire and promptly invaded Asia Minor and Egypt, which, along with proconsular Africa, was the breadbasket of the capital. When Zenobia ceased grain shipments to Rome, the city experienced food shortages within weeks. To make matters worse, the Goths had invaded the Balkans, the Vandals had overrun Pannonia, and the Euthungi were pillaging the Po River Valley and threatening Rome itself. Faced with 3 major barbarian incursions and 2 rebellions, Aurelian wasted little time in restoring imperial integrity. He expelled the Vandals from Pannonia, and then decisively routed the Euthungi army at the Battle of Ticinum, driving them out of Italy. While in Italy, Aurelian visited Rome. The city had long since outgrown the old Servian walls, which had been allowed to decay during the prolonged Pax Romana. Given how close the Euthungi had come to reaching the city, Aurelian commissioned new walls to enclose it, walls that still stand today. He also dedicated a temple to Sol Invictus in an attempt to unite the pagans of the empire behind a single supreme deity. Lastly, he faced down a rebellion of mint workers who were furious that his monetary reforms hindered their ability to embezzle public funds. Satisfied with the security of the capital, Aurelian turned his attention east. He launched a ruthless counteroffensive against the Goths, crossing the Danube and even killing their king, Cannabautes, in the process. However, seeing that Rome could no longer maintain the vulnerable province of Dacia north of the Danube River, Aurelian permanently withdrew imperial forces, allowing barbarian tribes to encroach. Having stabilized the Danube frontier, Aurelian prepared to move against Palmyra. He first deployed the imperial fleet to recapture Egypt, which fell in 272, restoring much-needed grain shipments to Rome. He then assembled his own forces in Bithynia and marched through Asia Minor, which quickly yielded when he showed leniency to captured cities. After minor victories north of Antioch, Aurelian dealt a crushing blow to the Palmyrene army at Emesa, forcing Zenobia to flee back to Palmyra as her empire collapsed around her. When Zenobia attempted to slip past Roman siege lines to solicit Sasanian aid, she was captured, and Palmyra surrendered shortly thereafter. Humiliated, the city revolted again after Aurelian left, and was joined by the disgruntled governor of Egypt, Firmus. But Aurelian put down both rebellions with ruthless efficiency, and this time, he allowed his army to sack Palmyra, which never recovered. Having pacified the east, Aurelian finally returned to Rome in 274. Now, he could turn his attention to Tetricus. In the summer of 274, Aurelian crossed the Alps and invaded Gaul. There, he won a devastating victory at the Battle of the Catalonian Fields, when he annihilated a substantial portion of the army of the Rhine. Some accounts say that Tetricus switched sides during the battle, betraying his troops to save his own life. Either way, the victory put an end to the short-lived Gallic Empire. After reintegrating the western provinces, Aurelian returned to Rome to celebrate an ostentatious triumph in late 274, where both Tetricus and Zenobia were paraded before the city in chains. Awed by his unprecedented series of stunning victories, the Senate hailed Aurelian as Restitutor Orbis, restorer of the world. Nevertheless, tragedy struck soon thereafter. While preparing for a campaign in Thrace in 275, Aurelian was assassinated by his own officers, bringing a tragic end to one of the most successful, if brief, reigns of the 3rd century. Long after his death, Aurelian was remembered for the critical role he played in saving the teetering Roman Empire from collapse and disintegration.